Hello and welcome to Wildcat Science with Mrs. Haugo. We are in Human Biology, Chapter 6, and we are studying the integumentary system, which is your first line of defense. As you can see, it involves the skin. Some fun facts about the integumentary system. Your skin weighs about 10 pounds. It has a surface area of almost 20 square feet. It is the largest organ in your body. Many people don't think about skin as an organ, but it is. And there are enzymes in your sweat that can digest bacteria. Again, looking at a case at the beginning of the chapter, we're going to be looking at Paul's case about sun-damaged skin in class. We'll find it on page 110, and we'll need Paul, Dr. Nielsen, and a couple of narrators. The integumentary system. This includes your skin, blood vessels, nerves, sensory organs, and also accessory organs involved with the skin, like glands, hair, and nails. The functions of the integumentary system, we'll go over them quickly right now, and you don't have to write them down. We'll go over them in depth in the next slide. Regulation of body temperature, protection, sensation, excretion, immunity, and the synthesis of vitamin D. Okay, looking at the function of protection, which is a very important function of the integumentary system. So your skin and associated organs will help protect you against infection. Skin keeps most of the pathogens out and most toxins out. It is literally a barrier to protect you from the outside world. It also protects against dehydration. Your skin is waterproof and it prevents water loss from evaporation. This may not seem like a big deal, but if you didn't have your skin to keep all your water in, you would actually die quickly from dehydration. So how does this work? So we're going to learn about the layers of the skin. Keratin, which is a protein which is found in the epidermis, and oil made by sebaceous glands in the dermis will waterproof the skin. And that is what keeps the water in and helps keep pathogens out because it's a barrier. So let's talk about when your integumentary system is compromised, particularly with burn victims. Burn victims are in a critical condition and may even die not because of the burn, but because of dehydration and infection due to pathogens. So that barrier, that skin, is very important. Also important, homeostasis, maintaining an internal balance. So as you can see from this man, we are going to be talking about sweating. So the integumentary system is very important in regulation of body temperature. Like we talked about in Chapter 1, those skin blood vessels can constrict to retain heat if your body temperature is too low, or they can dilate to increase heat loss if your body temperature is too high. Also, sweat glands will produce sweat, which cools the body by evaporative cooling. Water is very important at taking energy away when it goes from the liquid to the gas phase when it evaporates. Your integumentary system is also very important in sensation. Skin is one of your body's main sensory organs. When we talk about sense organs, we normally think of eyes or ears or nose, but your skin is a huge sensory organ. You have many sensory receptors in your skin, and they will detect pain, temperature, touch, and deep pressure. So let's take a look at this diagram. Your thermoreceptors will sense heat and cold. You have touch receptors that will sense touch. You also have deep pressure receptors that will receive information about deep pressure. And you have pain receptors that tell your body information about, ouch, that hurts. Don't do that. So looking at some other functions, the synthesis of vitamin D. So sunlight, especially ultraviolet rays, will hit your skin cells, and cholesterol is converted to a molecule that aids in the absorption of calcium and phosphate. So we normally think of cholesterol as being bad for us. As we can see, cholesterol is needed to synthesize vitamin D, which is an essential vitamin for us. So again, having enough cholesterol is very important, but too much causes problems. Your skin has some minimum excretion functions. Some salts and water are excreted through your sweat. It helps with immunity. It is part of your non-specific immunity. Your skin, tears, sweat, and oil all help to keep pathogens out. We will talk more about non-specific immunity when we get into the immune system later on this year. Also, white blood cells, called macrophages, will ingest foreign materials that get through the barrier, and they are going around in the skin tissue, among other places. So let's take a look at the skin. The skin has two layers. You should write down the words. You don't have to make the drawing on your notes. The epidermis is the outer layer right here, and you can see that it's made of the epithelial cells, and they're thin, and this is the waterproof layer. The dermis is the inner layer, and it's a lot deeper, and it has a lot of the accessory organs, which we'll talk more about later. And then your subcutaneous layer connects the skin to muscles. So let's go more in depth on the epidermis. It is the outer layer of skin, and it is the layer of skin you see every day. It is made of epithelial cells, and it is avascular, which means it has no blood vessels, so it has to receive nourishment from the dermis. It also includes melanocytes, and these are the cells that produce the pigment melanin, which gives your skin its color. So taking a look at the diagram, this is the epidermis, and if we look carefully, here are the different types of cells in the epidermis and the melanocyte. Okay, a little bit more about the epidermis. New epidermal cells are produced in the deepest epidermis layer and push older cells upward, which means cells further away from the nourishment or the blood vessels in the dermis will die, and older cells become flat and keratinize. What does that mean when it becomes keratinized? Well, the cytoplasm in the cell is replaced by the protein keratin, which thickens and strengthens old cells, and this is what makes the cells waterproof. Okay, moving a little deeper into the dermis. This is the thick layer under the epidermis, and it is made of elastic connective tissue. If you remember learning about connective tissue in Chapter 4, you'll remember a little bit about its functions and its characteristics. It is highly vascular. This means it has many blood vessels. The dermis also has nerves and nerve receptors, two types, touch and deep pressure receptors. It also contains some accessory organs like sebaceous or oil glands, sudoriferous or sweat glands, and hair follicles. Deep to the dermis layer is the subcutaneous layer, also known as the hypodermis layer, literally below the dermis. This layer connects the skin to the underlying muscle below. And the subcutaneous layer is composed of adipose tissue and loose connective tissue. Again, we learned about those types of tissues in Chapter 4. Adipose, also known as fat, is insulation and energy storage. Again, we tend to think of fat as bad. It is an essential part of your body. It will insulate your body and is a very important energy storage. So you need enough. Too much is not very good for you. So you want to be in that happy medium of adipose tissue. Also, bundles of connective tissue connect to the dermis, which stabilizes the position of the skin. If you notice, your skin is able to move, but you can't move it all the way around. It is stabilized somewhat in place. And the subcutaneous layer has many nerves and many blood vessels, and these are the blood vessels that help regulate body temperature and maintain homeostasis. These are the ones that will constrict or dilate to help keep a good body temperature. Okay, so let's look at some of the parts of the skin. We have the epidermis layer here, we have the dermis layer, and we have the subcutaneous layer below that. In the dermis layer, you can see that there are many accessory structures, which we will talk about in the next video. Thank you.